Mercedes furious after Belgian Grand Prix as new evidence found. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is how Mercedes' inexcusable DQ cost Russell F1 win in Spa. When small margins decide Formula One races, it's usually measured by tenths of a second at the finish line. That appeared to be the case at Sunday's Belgian Grand Prix, when a jubilant George Russell led Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton across the line by 0.526 seconds. 2 hours later, however, a similarly small margin, albeit measured in kilograms, had cost him the very same victory. Once fuel had been drained from Russell's car, it tipped 2 separate sets of FIA scales at 796.5 kilograms to 1.5 kilograms short of the required weight to be in compliance with F1's technical regulations. As devastating as it was for F1's latest race winner, there was no arguing with the facts and no gray areas to exploit, leaving Mercedes and Russell with no choice but to accept the disqualification. "We have to take it on the chin," team principal Toto Wolff said after the race. "We have clearly made a mistake and need to ensure we learn from it. We will go away, evaluate what happened, and understand what went wrong. To lose a 1-2 is frustrating, and we can only apologize to George, who drove such a strong race." In a social media post, Russell described the disqualification as heartbreaking. In a sport where every last detail is accounted for, double-checked and checked once more, it's rare for a car to be found underweight after the checkered flag. It's not unusual for teams to design a car to be as light as possible, but ballast is used to ensure it tips the scales at 798 keys, come what may after a race. The last time it happened was in 2006, when Robert Kubica's BMW was disqualified from 7th place at the Hungarian Grand Prix for being 2 kilos underweight. Crash damage can be a valid excuse for a car tipping the scales short of the minimum weight, but Russell's Mercedes crossed the line intact. Mercedes will spend the coming days fully investigating the reason for the oversight, but initially, it seemed linked to the remarkable one-stop strategy Russell used to take the victory. By making a single set of hard compound tires last 34 laps, Russell's Mercedes vaulted from 5th place to the lead as his rivals made a second pit stop. The strategy was a gamble, not least because most teams believed a 2-stop would be the fastest way to the flag ahead of the race. When Russell suggested the idea of a 1-stop over the team radio, Mercedes' strategy modeling said both the planned 2-stop strategy and the eventual 1-stop would leave the car 5th at the finish. We have these race planners, which tell us where the cars are going to come out at the end, and at some stage we saw we had to cover Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc with Lewis. So, putting Hamilton on a 2-stop strategy was absolutely clear-cut, Wolff said. Nobody expected the hard to last, and we went longer and longer, and then the planners said P5 for George in either case, 1 stop or 2 stops. So we said, let's take the gamble. Both drivers at that stage felt happy with the tires, but with Lewis, we had to do it to cover. So we extended the stint, and the tire remained absolutely fine. It was pretty flat in terms of performance until the end. Russell had nothing to lose, and as his stint continued over 20 laps, he took the lead of the race as Piastri made his second stop. Remarkably, Russell's tires were still in good shape at this stage, and as the laps counted down, the performance did not drop off as the team feared it might. But while the performance of the tires was still good, the physical rubber on the tire was still wearing away. A set of F1 tires weigh 42 kilos when new, but can lose as much as 3 kilos in wear during a long stint. Russell's second stint from lap 10 to lap 44 was longer than any other driver in Sunday's race, and longer than Mercedes had ever expected to go ahead of the start. In the aftermath of the disqualification, the team believed the loss of rubber through tire wear was a likely reason for the car being underweight at the finish. We don't yet understand why the car was underweight following the race, but we'll investigate thoroughly to find the explanation. Mercedes trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin said. We expect that the loss of rubber from the one stop was a contributing factor, and we'll work to understand how it happened. We won't be making any excuses, though. It is clearly not good enough, and we need to make sure it doesn't happen again. Mercedes had not run the hard compound tire at any point during the weekend prior to it being put on Russell's car in the race. The team had suspected it would be the stronger race tire, but with just 2 sets available per car for all 3 days of the event, it had saved both sets for both cars for use in Sunday's race. The second story is what Mercedes wants to see from Antonelli for F1 promotion. Mercedes has said the final call on junior driver Andrea Kimi. Antonelli getting the nod for promotion to its Formula One team next year is about more than Formula 2 results. Antonelli has thrust himself back into the spotlight after his first victories in F1's feeder series, taking a maiden triumph in the rain-affected Silverstone sprint event before claiming a first feature race win in Hungary last weekend. Antonelli's uptick in results hasn't gone unnoticed at Mercedes, and his Hungary performances in particular have gained praise from team boss Toto Wolff. But instead of focusing just on results, what Wolff wants to see above all else from the promising Italian youngster is him continuing to make progress and learn from his errors so he is as well prepared as he can be. Kimi did a good job, Wolff said. That was a dominant win. 2 different tire compounds. He was really strong, and it was deserved. We have never doubted his pace, and it is about really learning. He had such a fast development, but it is about learning tire management and all these things. That's why his win was a statement. Antonelli's recent string of wins has come after a leaner spell as both he and Prima teammate Oliver Bearman, who will be promoted to the Haas F1 team next year, struggled for performance with the Italian single-seater powerhouse. Ahead of the Hungary weekend, Antonelli, who turns 18 next month, openly said he doesn't know if I will be ready next year if Mercedes decides to promote him to replace Ferrari-bound Lewis Hamilton. The Italian said, I'm still learning a lot in F2. I definitely still make a lot of mistakes, and the details that really matter. I'm still not doing everything right. I just want to be honest. But Wolff stressed that making mistakes and learning from them is exactly what F2 is for, with the capricious nature of the series and its competitive order making the results not clear-cut to judge driver talent. Instead, Antonelli's private testing program with 2-year-old Mercedes F1 cars is where he can really convince the team he has the speed to make things happen, while he can keep honing his racecraft in F2. In a way, we sometimes forget how stupid you were at 17, Wolff said, when Antonelli's comments were put to him. I can tell you clearly my lack of maturity wouldn't allow me to make clear decisions in such a highly competitive field. The third story is, has Verstappen already signed with Mercedes for 2025? In the wake of his tantrums and rants during the 2024 Hungarian Grand Prix, Italy's Formula One poet Leo Torini wonders if Max Verstappen has not already signed to race for Mercedes in 2025. Holland's triple F1 world champion owes Red Bull everything he has achieved at the pinnacle of the sport. They made him great. Verstappen makes them greater. But is he Mercedes bound at the end of this season? However, the abuse he flung at the team that has served him so well, and the unrestrained rudeness he aimed at his long-suffering race engineer Gianpiero Lambiase, was a slap in the face for those among us who consider Verstappen one of the sport's greatest drivers. Furthermore, Verstappen's lunge on his nemesis Lewis Hamilton during their battle for P3 at Hungaroring on Sunday was never on. The Red Bull failed to torpedo the Mercedes out of the race by sheer luck, but it was close to another Monza mounting. The number 1 RBR did get airborne for a chunk, thanks to the overtake that was never on. It was a flashback to teenager Max of the Toro Rosso days. He is 26 now. Torini best summed it up in his recent column. Max Verstappen. From Supermax to Minimax. The Dutchman's hysteria, including the incident with Hamilton. That can only be explained by the reality he no longer has a missile under his ass. Verstappen won 4 of the first 5 races this season, a repeat of his monotonous 2023-style winning monotony was feared. But the Red Bull season has been blighted since the RB20 broke cover at the beginning of the year. The Christian Horner sexting saga grabbed all the wrong headlines, igniting a civil war between the team principal and Max's father, Jos Verstappen. The team spent weeks on the brink of implosion until sanity prevailed. But speculation abounded. With Jos spotted with Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff during the height of the saga, the option to leave Red Bull and switch to the team his nemesis Hamilton is departing from, which also happens to be the most coveted seat in F1, and the only one of the big four teams without a second driver. While many believe Carlos Sainz is the cork of this 2025 F1 silly season,